The decommissioned military bunker lay deep beneath the Swiss Alps, buried under 1,000 meters of solid rock. Dr. David Blakemore, a former neurobiologist, along with his 3 assistants, Thomas, Mark, and a junior researcher named Alan, had isolated themselves here to study absolute isolation and temporal perception. The premise was simple. If a human is deprived of all external stimuli, sunlight, clocks, internet, and natural sounds, how long can the human mind maintain its grip on reality? It was the 12th day of the experiment. The harsh neon lights inside the bunker had been shut off to conserve power, leaving only a faint crimson emergency light glowing in the corridor. No one possessed a watch. "Alan, turn off the metronome," Thomas said from his seat in the dark, his voice stationary. It sounded muffled, as if rising from beneath the floorboards. "I haven't touched it, Thomas," Alan replied from his corner. He sat on the edge of his cot, knees pulled tightly to his chest. "The metronome is in Mark's room." Mark had not left his quarters for 3 days. Worse still, even though the central generator in the heart of the bunker hummed quietly, a thick freezing silence choked the air. Yet, a distinct sound pierced through the concrete. Tap, tap, tap. Dr. Blakemore walked down the corridor with heavy, deliberate steps. The beam of his flashlight cut through the dampness, illuminating beads of moisture clinging to the concrete walls. He stopped in front of the heavy iron door of room 404. The sound was definitely coming from inside. But it wasn't a metronome. The rhythm felt agonizingly slow, as if it occurred only once an hour, yet paradoxically, it repeated every second. "Mark, open the door," Blakemore said. The clinical detachment had vanished from his voice. "We are terminating the experiment. It's time to go above ground." No answer came from behind the steel barrier. Only the relentless rhythm continued. Blakemore pulled the master key from his pocket and turned the lock. The door opened with a heavy metallic groan. The flashlight beam swept the center of the room. Mark was sitting at his desk. His eyes were wide open, his pupils fully dilated and glassy. He was staring blankly at the wall. The horrifying part was his right hand. It rested on the desk, and his index finger beat against the wood every single second. Tap, tap, tap. His finger was bleeding profusely. The nail had completely peeled away, exposing the raw bone beneath. Yet he seemed entirely oblivious to the pain. "Mark," Blakemore stepped closer. Mark slowly turned his head. His face showed neither agony nor terror. There was only a vast, bottomless void in his eyes. "Doctor," Mark whispered, "you turned off the sun. It's never coming back. I am holding time together. If my finger stops, the night will swallow us completely. It's scratching at the door outside." Blakemore spun around, freezing in absolute horror. In the corridor, Thomas and Alan had also begun striking the floor with their hands, perfectly in sync with the rhythm. The air inside the bunker suddenly grew heavy, as if the entire weight of the mountain was crushing down on them. Time had stopped, but their bodies were now functioning as the clockwork for the eternal dark. Deep within an abandoned military shaft in the Nevada desert, a classified agricultural experiment was underway. Arthur and his 2 colleagues, Robert, a mechanical engineer, and Peter, a botanist, were living 300 meters underground to test a new strain of crops designed to grow using only artificial light. They were scheduled to remain there for 6 months. By the 4th month, the communication system went completely dead. Then, the primary elevator failed. Its gears jammed and the massive steel cables snapped. They were trapped. "We won't starve down here," Peter would say, staring at the strange black-leaved plants growing under the eerie green glow of the lab lights. "We have sustenance. These plants provide oxygen and vital nutrients." However, Arthur noticed something deeply unsettling. The plants were growing far too fast. Their roots were cracking through the concrete floors, spreading like veins along the bunker walls. Most disturbingly, even though the ventilation fans were turned off, the leaves swayed gently, as if they were breathing. One night, Robert vanished. Arthur and Peter searched the entire complex. They finally found him on the lowest level, in the main hydroponics bay. Robert was lying flat on the soil. He was alive, but his eyes were fixed on the ceiling, a bizarre, blissful smile plastered across his face. The black roots of the plants had coiled tightly around his arms and legs, burrowing beneath his skin like dark capillaries. "Robert!" Arthur lunged forward to pull him away, but Peter grabbed his arm, holding him back with surprising strength. "Don't touch him," Peter said, his voice unnervingly calm. "He is dreaming. He told me before he lay down. These plants hear the voice of the night, the true ancient night of the earth. They don't feed us, Arthur. We feed them." Arthur looked at Peter in horror. He noticed that Peter's wrists were also patterned with green and black lines, crawling just beneath the surface of his skin. The air in the bunker had grown thick, saturated with a sweet, rotting odor that paralyzed the senses. From that night on, Arthur fought against sleep, but the darkness pressed in from every corner. The lights grew dimmer by the hour, and the black leaves began to rustle, making sounds that resembled whispers. Arthur barricaded himself in his quarters. From the other side of the door, he could hear the heavy, dragging footsteps of Robert and Peter. They didn't knock. Instead, thin black roots began to slide under the crack of the door. There was no escape, for the world above had long since forgotten they existed.